Hello and welcome once again to OK Climbing, as in OK Climbing from the BMC with me, Niall Grimes. We're here at Raven Tor. Steve McClure has been at the cutting edge of UK sport climbing for over 2 decades, added up most of the country's hardest and best sport climbs. And these routes are targets of the younger generation and have been for a long time, and big prizes, big ticks for any of them. Toby Roberts, 16-year-old climber, comp climber, outdoor climber. He's been steadily working his way through a lot of Steve's routes, and this season has repeated some of his best and hardest. We've come to Raven Tor to catch up with the two of them, to see where they're at with their climbing and how it feels for Steve to see these routes getting done finally, and how it feels for Toby to do them. Okay, let's have a go and have a look. Awesome, we're here at Raven Tor on a cold, chilly November day with Steve McClure and Toby Roberts. Steve, you've been pioneering first ascents on British limestone, Yorkshire and the Peak for over 20 years now, a long way back. And still, the younger generation are come through and still think your routes are the ones they're aiming to do, repeat and work through your grades. How does it feel to be seeing younger people doing these climbs, sometimes after a long, long time?
Good. It's great to see people experiencing the same sort of stuff that I did after quite a long time, because I mean things like Mutation is 23 years old. So to get people that psyched on the same stuff is great, because sometimes you wonder whether they're going to get left and just gather dust and never get repeated, just fall out of fashion. So it's awesome, but it's also really good to get really cool people on them. And of course Toby's a particularly cool youngster, because what you don't want is some super hot shot who just rinses it in seconds and just goes, it's not very nice and it was really easy. So it's good to see people that are motivated by them, like them, and enjoy the same process.
So as you went through these first ascents through the grades, which ones were meaning most to you? Which ones stood out for you?
So looking back, Mutation was probably one of the biggest, but it wasn't at the time. It didn't feel like the biggest because I was such a newbie to that kind of thing. It was only over the years, as years went by and people tried them, they sort of gathered momentum, and I started to realise that, hey, wow, that's maybe something quite special. But the routes that I've done more lately, things like Rain, Shadow, and then Rain Man, those are the two that really stick out, because they're on a mega cliff. Malham is an amazing cliff, and I became really kind of at one with that crag. It's more my style than Raven Tor, where we're at today, which I've done some hard stuff, but it's a bit too brutal for me, to be honest, a bit too bouldery.
Is it Raven Tor or Raven's Tor? Is it Mutation? Is it Mutations? I think I keep saying different things.
You keep on messing it up. It's apparently it's Raven Tor, not Ravens, and it's definitely Mutation, not with an S.
Okay. Toby, welcome, 16-year-old, cruising through lots of Steve's routes. Tell us about the year you've had so far, about some of your outdoor climbing.
Well, so I finished my comp season at the end of August, early September, and normally after my comp season I like to go outdoors, and yeah, Steve's routes are just kind of calling out to you. They're like the best routes in Britain, really, or the best routes in the world. So I started out my season trying Batman, which is one of Steve's lines at Malham.
How hard's that?
So
controversial.
Yeah, controversial. So Steve graded it at 9A/+, I think.
I did.
Was it 2013?
It was about that, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think it's had 3 ascents since, and I think it said it was settled at 9A, but I think it's probably around 9A/+, or definitely hard for 9A. So yeah, it's a mega line straight through Malham, and it's kind of just the one before Rain Man, really, wasn't it?
It's the one before Rain Man, yeah. And slash grades, I mean, that's always a controversial subject. What is a slash grade? And I've been asked that quite a lot recently. What even is it? And I think it's potentially 2 things. It's either a grade in between the 2 grades, or it's also offered by the first ascensionist because he or she believed that it was 9A for somebody and 9A+ for somebody else. So they really couldn't decide. And for me on that particular route, I thought it was in between the 2. I thought it was definitely in between. And I think it's accepted to be in between the 2, isn't it?
Yeah,
but some places you just they won't accept the slash grades.
There's a big time difference between the 2 ascents. Was your experiences very different, Steve and Toby?
Well,
don't know.
Well, I think we have very similar beta, really, through
Yeah.
through most of the hard climbing.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'9".
5'9". So I'm 5'6.5". So we're not far off.
Yeah.
So we're going to be similar in our movement. I mean, the route has intricacies, which is what makes it so beautiful. But at the end of the day, I think we'll have probably found a pretty similar path.
Yeah, I mean, it's very delicate moves, it's very technical.
Were they both sieges?
Probably not yours. How long did you spend on it?
Oh, well, it went together pretty quickly, and then I ended up falling off the top like 10 times on this one last move. So I think it was definitely ended up being quite a siege, I guess.
So it kicks into the mental side of it a bit.
Yeah, so you kind of get through the moves pretty easily to start with, and then it just really just ramps up, and yeah, going from the ground is always harder than pulling on from.
How does it feel then to set off when things settle into that way of being? Do you like that? Is that where the challenge is?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I just like having a project which is going to push you really. You don't really get that indoors, so it's something that you can, you can work on, and it's just purely for you, for no one else. It's just you trying the route.
Just for you. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Steve, did you fall off the top move of Batman?
So I didn't, but I got sucked into a quick draw. So I didn't actually fall off the top move, but yeah, I got utterly jammed.
What happened?
It was a bizarre scenario where on the day that I was trying to red point it, I noted that the very last quick draw, the carabiner had a sticking gate, and it would stay open by itself. And I wasn't concerned by that because I didn't clip that one. I skipped it, went past it. So I just left it. And a filmmaker was filming, and he had used that quick draw to position himself. And when he moved to the side, he accidentally left the quick draw with the gate stuck open. And as I climbed past the quick draw, the carabiner actually got stuck in my knot. And as I tried to make the finishing move to the finishing hole, I just suddenly couldn't move. I was like, oh, I'm just stuck. I couldn't actually.
It was the last move?
The very last move, the move to the ledge. I was that short on it.
Yeah, I think I've seen the video where you just
I was
clip
just
into
stuck.
it. Yeah.
No! How can that happen? And I couldn't work out what was going on at first, and I realised what had happened. And when I sat down, I was a bit unnerved as I noticed the now quick draw that was jammed was now pulling my knot apart, and I was sitting on it. So not only did I not do the route, I almost died as well, which would have been a bit of a slap in the face. But I got quite angry and then felt quite silly. It's only a route after all.
It's only a route after
Fortunately, I did it the next day, so it was all right.
And we get Hubble here. You both have done Hubble?
Yeah.
Hard?
For me, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. I mean, it's just a mega classic, kind of.
How long did it take you to do
iconic.
it?
I think it took 5 sessions.
5.
I think 5. Yeah, I think if you're strong enough to do the moves, then you will. I think you can get it relatively quickly, but it's still very hard.
Yeah, it took me longer. I wasn't strong enough to do the moves.
And finally here, I know I'm just talking about your season this year. You've done Steveolution.
Yeah. So
tell us what Steveolution is, Steve.
Well, I didn't give it that name for a start.
Right.
Just like to
because it's
throw
only a
that out
training
there.
link.
It was just a play on words, isn't it? Evolution with a bit more attached to it that I did first. It's basically an extension to evolution, which is asking to be done. Evolution sort of stops in the middle of the wall at quite a good hold, but there's obviously a lot of climbing above it, and the extension is a natural progression, and it makes a good route, I think.
I think it's definitely a good route. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's worth doing.
Oh yeah.
It might not be the most known line, but it's definitely one.
It's got a
I'd
good
say.
name.
Yeah, good name.
And now you're trying mutation. Today you've been trying mutation.
Yeah.
So if you did that with Hubble, you're sort of working through these big historical routes. They think Hubble especially has a lot of historical significance. Evolution has Rain Man. You did not Rain Man, Rain Shadow.
Yeah, Rain Shadow.
From when did you do that, Steve?
2003, I think.
And you did it.
Well, it was it last when I was 15, so last year.
Right. So what's motivating you to do these sorts of climbs? These particular lots of Steve's climbs and.
they're not just mine, they're just what there is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just very good. It's not just, they're just amazing climbs really. The moves on them most of them are just amazing, all of them are amazing, and yeah, it's just nice to climb really.
What about new routes? Do you think you'll do any new routes? Would you like to do new? I know Will did Brandenburg Gate here the other day, and that was fairly significant, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was big.
You were here that day because I
watched him do it. Yeah, it was cool.
It's cool to see new things getting done like that.
Yeah, I definitely want to do some first ascents, but I'm not exactly sure what those would be now. Right now, obviously, but yeah, as I get a bit older, I want to establish some things. It'd be cool. Because doing the first ascent is always kind of the big thing. It's always, it's the hardest thing to do is establish a line.
Because you reckon some people just come along and with a guidebook, the grade they want to do it and don't pay any attention to the stuff behind it, which is a fine way of climbing, but it is interesting to see the extra aspects that go into these things. And Steve, you've done first ascents. Are they a lot harder?
I think they are. I think there's an unknown as to whether it's actually going to work at all, and that's against you in the first instance. When you realise that it can be done and you start to figure it all out, obviously you've got to go through the whole figuring out process, but I suppose psychologically you don't know what grade it is, you don't know if you're doing the moves the right way. There's a lot of things that sort of weigh on you a little bit, but I mean, I had a really, really good run on the UK limestone front. It sort of fell out of fashion. There's a lot of people I think could have climbed all these routes that I climbed, but they were off bouldering and head pointing. That was like the in thing, and I was rubbish at that. So I just took on these challenges. So people will say, oh, it's really good to do like Steve's routes, and I just fluked it that all those routes were left there for me to do. I really did fluke it. There could have been Ben's, there could have been Jerry's, could have been Neil Carson's, could have been a lot of people's routes. Yeah, privilege.
So if you're in Toby's shoes now, with a lot of these things already done, what would you be looking at to do?
I mean, Toby, the level that Toby's at is considerably higher than where I was at any point. So, I mean, realistically, I'd say every route in the UK you can and potentially will do in the relatively near future. So the problem you're going to have is what happens next, which routes you do next. I mean, the UK has not got an abundance of new lines, so you're going to have to either go abroad or look for the next level. And there is stuff out there. There's definitely stuff out there. And you could start joining everything together if you get really keen. I mean, you've probably got a few years before you tick your way through everything.
Yeah, I think so. There's definitely time. I think there's definitely some hard stuff at Malham to be
still
found.
To be done.
Especially at the top tier, it looks like some hard stuff.
Yeah, there's stuff to go, but I mean, you've got a few more still to do. But I don't think it's going to take very long at all.
What about travelling, Toby? Would you go abroad for things like Dura Dura or Silence and things like that? Do they turn you on?
Yeah, well, I definitely want to go abroad. Obviously, it's been harder with COVID and stuff to get abroad, but yeah, in the next years, I want to try some hard outdoor routes, like different countries. Yeah, like maybe not Silence like right now, but yeah, just routes like that.
Yeah.
To work on your foot jams.
Yeah,
knee bars.
Session with Tom Randall.
So just think about abroad. Is there any climbs in the world you'd love to do, like actually really want to do?
Yeah, so Perfectamundo looks awesome. That is one of the routes that I really want to do when I'm a bit older. It just looks awesome, and yeah, that is probably the main one that I want to get on.
All right, cheers for that. Good luck with Mutation. You watched him climbing it today, didn't you? Toby and Mutation.
Yeah, so watching Toby on it it's really impressive to see how the ease of which he can do moves which I spent a long time working on, like a really long time. It doesn't look like it's going to take very long before that falls, which is going to be great to see.
Amazing. Yeah, 3 ticks. Oh, cheers you two. Thanks for the
Thank
chat.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck on all the climbs. Woohoo.
Thank you.